Out of your list that you made, highlight 3 to 5 primary targets that you want to make a plan to prospect. So look back at your list, take your list of all, and highlight 3 to 5 of those. Because this, I think, again, in a broader perspective, maybe has always been the key that's been a stumbling block for us. And there's people just like yourself that come in going, well, I don't have one single school doing this. This is overwhelming to try to get this started. We'll start out small. Start out with something manageable. Pick 3 to 5. If you get yeses from all 5 of those, then buy yourself a steak dinner, because that's probably not going to happen. You're not going to get a yes from every one. But start out with that list that you either have a connection with or that you think are, your primary targets. You have somebody that's, a reasonable sized school that's in a type of neighborhood or area. You mentioned a magnet school earlier. You're thinking, hey, these parents are probably more engaged than the average person. Then that's a good starting point for you. Keys to long-term success. Relationships. That probably should have been a full page, graphic right there. Your relationships are your key. Again, principals move around, BDCs move around, BDCs retire, whatever. And maintaining those relationships, I think has been, especially in McCracken County, has been a big, huge key for me, because their dynamics of their leadership program has changed. We had a gifted and talented program when we first started these that had a teacher that was a full-time teacher assigned to gifted and talented programming, and that was awesome. Those kids loved it, the teacher loved it, everybody loved it. Well, when they lost the budget for that, we kept having blood drives in most of these cases, and that's because we had good relationships with them. A passion and commitment to the BDC, of course, we all know how important that is. And setting the program up correctly the first time. Again, selling all the elements of that as much as you possibly can to set it up for success in the beginning is a real key for it. Now, I want to tell you real quickly about the dream school. This is a dream that you all can have tonight when you go to bed, okay? Because it does exist, it does happen. It doesn't happen every day, it doesn't happen all the time. But there's this little old school called R.A. Doyle Elementary. It's over in East Prairie, Missouri. Just visualize the tumbleweeds blowing by, as you say East Prairie, Missouri. That's kind of what it's like. I looked up the population of East Prairie. I didn't believe it. I think it's a lie when they say what their population is. But they have 353 students in a pre-K through 2nd grade, and their town population is 3,184. Do any of you guys have towns like that? 3,184?
Most of them.
Okay, then you know what I'm talking about. That 4th person on the end of that 84 matters, right? Every single one does. This is a tiny little agricultural town. If you're not a farmer, you work at the school. If you don't work at the school, then you work at the prison. That's just up the highway. That's all there is there. There's nothing going on there. This school program really is kind of a grand slam of them all, okay? And I was fortunate enough to be there when this started, and I'm going to just tell you real briefly, because I know we're running out of time. I want to tell you real briefly how this started. This started with a conversation that I was having with the church secretary. I went into the church where we have the community blood drive to make sure the dates were set on their calendar that we needed for the upcoming community blood drive. And I happened to strike up a conversation with her. She was new, so I had not met her before, and I happened to strike up a conversation with her, and I told her that I was thinking about approaching the local elementary school about having a blood drive. And I'll be honest with you, I had thought about approaching them for a while, but there's nothing really outstanding about their school. It doesn't stand out. It's not a real pretty, fancy building. It doesn't give you the idea of, man, that's where I want to go for success. And she said, well, I actually work part-time over there. I work part-time at the church, work part-time at the school. And by the way, I was a blood recipient myself when my twin daughters were born, and then she goes on from there. And she connects me with the school, and the school principal's all excited about it, and this lady becomes the BDC. And the coolest part of this is over the years we've changed BDCs, I think 3 times, is that right?
Correct.
We just recently changed principals at the school, and it continues to go. 10 years, 2,044 units of blood at an average of 273. This is a 2-day blood drive. 273 collected in a town of 3,184. They've gone through 4 or 5 different account managers over the years, 2 principals, 3 BDCs. They just keep on trucking, keep on making it happen. So they've been a phenomenal success for us. The very first time we had a blood drive there, the blood drive, ironically, we scheduled in the fellowship hall next door, which I didn't really want it that way. I felt like it would be more effective in the school, but they really didn't have a place for it. So when they're forecasting snow the day of the blood drive, we get nervous. Not a good thing, right? So the BDC says to me, well, my husband's a farmer. He's always out at 6 o'clock in the morning. So just call him and see what the road conditions are like. So I get up the next morning, I call, and he says, well, you know, school's closed today, but the roads are okay. You know, they're not horrible. So we go ahead and have the blood drive. School closed. Blood drive's at the fellowship hall next door. We collected 86 units of blood. Had to go back later to collect the additional 21. So this school has been a phenomenal success. It's one, if not the best, Pint-Size Hero programs in the entire country. And it was just started by an innocent conversation about wanting to start a blood drive. It's not anything unlike any of you guys can't do and you can't accomplish. You may not find one that's this good, but you'll find some good ones along the way. Who's got a question or a comment, statement about anything that we covered today? And after you do that, we want to go back and I want to make sure that we covered everything that we talked about in our original brainstorming. You have a question or comment? Oh, you're stretching too. Okay.
Hours of the blood drive that you try to do?
I like 12:30 to 5:30 or 1 to 6. Again, some of that depends on the commutability of those people. You know, if a lot of people commute and go out of town to work, then I might extend it a little bit later. I really don't like to go past 6 because people don't donate blood past 6 o'clock.
Some while school in session and some after school session.
Do you ever have any objections with the school not wanting outsiders coming into the school? Like say you want to use their gymnasium and their objection is during school hours we can't have strangers wandering the halls.
Yes.
How do you get around that?
Yes. Have had that. Part of that, of course, is, well, you know, you have parents coming in and out. But I guess the first thought that comes to mind is to say, you know, we can set it up where you have a separate entry for the blood donors. They sign in and they only stay in the gym and then they're exiting right back out. So that's one way that you could automatically address that, to say, hey, you know, we're gonna ask your BDC or adult volunteers to be there at all times, and so we can maintain it in that area. Anybody else questions or comments?
When you've scheduled these drives from like 8 to 2, because that's what you do your high school drives on, like, have you seen like they haven't been successful?
Yeah, that's a tricky one because historically I've tried to make adjustments with the hours, and it's always hard because it seems like the schools that I've done that with, one time you get really good parent response and the next time you don't, and your BD's saying, we ran out of time for our students because nobody wants to donate at the end of the day. They're all waiting to get out of school. And so I've tried different variables with that. It's very tricky. And it really, I think, comes back to figuring out the dynamic of that community, because some of them I have that I just run the regular hours and they have parents that come anyway. In general, the ones that I've adjusted to later, to like a 10 to 3 or an 11 to 4 or something like that, the adjustment hasn't really panned out in the long run. The high school students are still the majority of who I'm counting on, and that is the prime target for that blood drive in my mind, is those students. So if we can add some parents on, that's great, but it's those high school students that we know are there.
No,
that's
I
the
meant
primary.
like, I just mirrored my high school drive hours are usually like 8 to 2 or 8 to 1.
Mhm.
So when I did this, scheduled this elementary school
I gotcha.
drive, I just figured it was 8 to 2.
I got you.
So what I'm asking is, like, in the elementary, I mean, are you seeing like a decrease in participation during those hours?
I would expect that, but when I set my elementary drives up in the beginning, I've not set any up with those hours specifically, just because I felt like there would be more people available, in the afternoon.
You're talking about West Side? You got a lot of stay-at-home moms, and that's one of the,
Mm-hmm.
not being ugly, but it's one of the wealthier, it's where all the
Sure.
Kinderloo and the Stone Creek kids go to school.
Mhm.
You have a lot of stay-at-home moms, 'cause
Okay.
I know a handful, so
Okay.
just, I don't know if
I'm
that'll
just
work,
kind of
but-
nervous because I just set this up and I kind of went like in there flying blind.
Sure.
I just had a relationship with the principal and she just bought into the program because of the whole booster thing that we added on. But now I feel like I totally.
Trust me, all this material in this big long presentation comes from trial and error, okay? So there's a lot of mistakes made along the way, and not necessarily all of them mistakes, but just sometimes an adjustment. As to say, hey, my BDC's telling me that she had more people wanting to donate, but they needed a 3 to 3:30 time, or whatever the case might be. Certainly, I would think that if you were setting it up that way, you would want to try to allow through your kid pickup time. Because for some parents, that's the key time that they're going to want is, hey, I'm going to come in at 3 because I picked my kid up at 3:30. That's kind of what they're, what they're thinking along the way.
Okay. And then the actual, when I set it up, I told him I was going to do a like educational presentation for the 5th grade science classes.
Mhm.
Where do you get that information as far as doing some type of, there's 3 components in the blood or whatever
Sure.
the presentation is? Where do I find that information? Like,
Well, the presentations that I've done for the most part have been much more general recruitment type of presentations, but the Red Cross website will absolutely make your mind go numb if you've been on there and spent any time at all. I mean, you could sit for hours and hours and hours and read material. So to me, I would start there and just come up with more of the factual, again, you're looking for more of the, the scientific kind of side of it. And there's a lot of things on there that you can use, again, that will connect back to
I
that.
think they have it on the
YouTube.
field,
Mhm.
isn't there?
Yep, and YouTube has the Kool-Aid demonstration.
Yeah, the Kool-Aid demonstration is one of the big ones. So you don't do so much of
Yeah, that's what I was,
the curriculum or the science aspect of it. You're hitting more,
maybe that's what I've been doing wrong.
and I mean, that's something that we've always focused on here is, we want to do the lesson plan because it helps give back to the school. So we're, what's in it for me
Right.
component of it. That's what's in it for them is that we have the science aspect of it. But it sounds like a lot of what you're doing kind of just strays away from that. And this is more of a community service project.
and I
as
think
opposed
that's
to
the way I'll
learning
mirror it
opportunity, yeah.
From now
from
on.
now on. Unfortunately, I've already made commitments to this one, so I'm kind of like, I don't want to walk in and just look like a total idiot.
YouTube
Well,
has
but-
the Kool-Aid one.
Maybe that gives you a compare and contrast too, though. Because see, once you do that one, you've got a flavor that I don't have. So you can go, okay, this school seems to fit into flavor B better than flavor A, and you can figure out the way to make that work. Just again, make a silly example here, but if your BDC is a science teacher in 5th grade, then that may exactly be the angle that you want to take with it, because that's going to perk his or her ears up and get them excited, which ultimately, having your BDC excited and your kids excited, that's kind of the starting point to.
And I'm thinking like lesson plans already written, that's like, isn't that great news for a teacher?
Well, what I've got.
But what she said is they said that's not in our curriculum.
That's not in our
These are
curriculum, and
standards.
I can, and
Yeah.
I don't have time to
Right.
do an extra week's worth of stuff. That's what I've gotten back when I've tried. I'm like, we have all these lessons already written for you. Like, that's awesome. And they're like, no,
Yeah.
So, but I guess that's what, because I've always done the Kool-Aid demonstration, and that is so annoying. It's just such a mess.
You get messy.
And I think that's I'm just going to focus on the recruitment. Maybe that's what I've done wrong.
And then you were also saying that now this program, the Pint Size Hero program, there's a financial support to that. Like I didn't know that.
Isn't there, did they take that away this year?
I don't think so. You mean for the school?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not that I'm aware of, unless I haven't seen anything lately come out.
Just
Well,
With
since
the-
y'all are
That's
the
a great
experts-
idea, I like it, but I've never done
We
it.
did that a couple of years ago, with the elementary schools.
Some of our competitors do.
I was gonna say our competition.
Yeah,
is
com-
not-
Yeah,
Competition,
no,
yeah.
but we've had that,
And we have a high school component.
yeah, well, yeah, cause I lost Worth County Primary because they did $10 a pint for them.
Back to
Okay,
the
well,
notes that you had from the very beginning of the meeting, would you just scan through those real quickly, see if there's, just kind of read those out maybe about what we covered in the beginning. The questions were, what's the major reasons they've not worked? And again, we've kind of talked through some of this, but what are the top 3 or 4 ingredients? Is there anything in that list that we've missed out on?
The no success was non-supportive parents and guardians, no school leadership buy-in, and then 3 to 4 ingredients were setting the appointments, pre-appointments, getting buy-in, and exciting the kids.
Okay, so you guys feel like we've covered all those? Is there anything of that we've not covered? Any element of that we've not gotten into? Okay. Any last questions or comments, anybody?
How long is the curriculum? I'm hearing a week, or is it 10 or 15 minutes to what?
Oh, the lesson plans that are out there?
Mhm.
I don't know if that stuff's been updated lately. I'd have to go back and look, I'm not sure.
I thought it was a 5-day thing. When I looked at it.
No wonder they don't
I
wanna
thought it
do it.
was like just one lesson.
Yeah, I
I
thought
think
it
it's
was,
just one
but I
lesson.
haven't
yeah, it's just one lesson
Okay.
for,
I had
Is there
principals
like
look
a
at it and
packet?
pick out which grades it fits it already in their lesson.
It's on
plan. Like, we're gonna
SharePoint.
do it to 5th grade
Field.
because it already fits in
Fits
their lesson
in, yeah.
plan.
Which is, okay, it's on the field now. Sorry, old school here.
And at
Well,
a
what I would
rec
ask
rally in
you-
a couple of weeks, we're gonna have a lunch and learn on what the field is all about.
What I would
I've
ask
heard
you
about
guys
it.
to do, I'm sorry, Amber,
I love the field.
I do too.
But yeah, it's out there.
does your field have sunflowers in it? Or?
Mine has daisies.
When
Okay,
we
there
had
I'm there now.
SharePoint, that was awful.
What I would just ask you guys to do, kind of as a wrap-up, follow-up again, the reason I wanted to come today and excited to come and share this is because I want to see your results. I want to see you guys have positive results and be able to go out and find these relationships, build them, and help secure your territories as well as secure ultimately what our patient needs are all about. So as you guys go out and try these, as you stumble and fall on your face a few times, which will happen, let me know about what's going on. Let me know some of your results. That's kind of my payout. So thank you guys very much for your
I
attention
got one
today.
more question
Yes.
for you. Do you just focus on the elementary blood drives or the elementary or the school drives? Or do you have
part
like,
of the mix is this to your overall.
I have a plain old regular territory.
okay,
I have businesses, churches,
Mhm.
schools, all the whole mix together.
how many counties are in your territory?
Well, I've just changed territory a little bit. For the last 14 years, I've had, I started with 18 counties,
Mhm.
and that's been whittled down. I've been covering 9 counties, and now I'm covering 5 counties. So my territory's kind of changed a little bit
Okay.
over the years, but
What's your APL?
I don't know today. What,
Oh,
do you know what my APO is?
For the whole year, or?
You mean for the year, or?
No, your
Just-
average per operation.
No, but I mean for the whole year, or for just for Pint Size Heroes, or?
For your whole territory.
Oh,
I'm
it's
not sure.
33.
Okay.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.